3 months ago, when Barb invited me to do a sermon, again, after being off the horse for a while, I enthusiastically said, yes, of course. She said, what's your topic? And without thinking, I said, acceptance. Well, I could have chosen something easier. And what has happened in the last 3 months is I have written 14 versions of this sermon. Because apparently every time I accept something, there's something else around the corner for me to yet accept. So today's version is hot off the presses of a 5 a.m. summer solstice. And I wanted to begin this talk with a witty little joke, but my teenagers tell me that I'm not very funny. So I will spare us the pain and take their advice. And rather, I will begin with a reading I heard here about 6 years ago. When I first heard it, I thought, yeah, right, who can do this? But of course, those are just the types of messages that get under your skin and drive you nuts until you figure them out. It's called The House by Rumi, who challenges us to accept life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, with a complete joie de vivre that is for all of it. If you're a visual person like me, you can look on the back of your order of service and follow along. The guest house. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes in as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes your way, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. End quote. Now that's a lot to live by. For me, being a Navy kid, a boat metaphor works better than a house. So welcome to Acceptance 101. Your homework will be to float down the river of acceptance without crashing your boat into the canyon walls or your hull on a submerged log. The tough thing about this course, Acceptance 101, is that you must stay in it until you master all 3 of the fundamental rules. I'll explain those in a minute. The good news is that it's a pass, no pass class. The excellent news is that on summer solstice, we have an opportunity with 14 hours and 27 minutes of sunlight to empty out all the water that has accidentally splashed into our boats. And of course, everybody's boat is different. Some have a lot of water to bail out, as they've acquired quite a few holes during their lives. Others have figured out how to bail out on a daily basis and patch their holes with silly putty. Whatever shape your boat is currently in, today is the perfect day to lighten your load and rejoice that you are still on the river at all. Best of all, today is where you don't really need your oars. Let them go. Just float. And trust that the river will continue to meander with you on it. Now, my holy boat, as many of you in this congregation know, and who have so lovingly helped me patch it over the years, has taken quite a beating in the last few years. Many of your boats have as well. The death of a beloved, an arduous hospital stay, finding an affordable place to live, writing that thesis, losing a job, suffering a bout of PTSD, or a long spell of insomnia, a broken tooth. They're all holes that make floating a little difficult. But I'm standing here today after a severe brain trauma a year ago that probably should have killed someone not so stubborn, as a witness to how durable our boats are. And with a lining of love from our friends and our family, these boats are capable of surviving a Class 4 rapid or two. Oftentimes, it is our loved ones, those pilgrim souls we choose to share our lives with, who help us get off the rocks or out of the whirlpools. Sometimes they simply remind us to quit rowing so hard. But how do we follow Rumi's advice when a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep into our houses and empty it of our furniture? What I've come to understand while in the bathtub these last 3 months is that there are 3 main fundamental rules while navigating the river of acceptance when you're in your boat by yourself. Number 1, no matter how hard you try or have tried, it might not be fixable. Number 2, no matter how much you screwed up along the way, blame is not helpful. And number 3, no matter how good you get at number 1 and 2, it's still okay to not like the outcome. So let's go back to the 1930s to get some guidance on how to give up on not fixing something. There was a minister by the name of Reinhold Niebuhr who wrote a short prayer that went turtle viral back in the day. It was adopted and used in the chaplain's handbook in 1943 for the US military during World War II. And it still resides in the American Legion handbook today. Most people know it as the Serenity Prayer. Here's a UU version. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Very simple. Take a little parable. 5,000 years ago, on a solstice day, here in Santa Barbara, a feast occurs. And after the fire goes down and everyone goes to bed, in the middle of a night, a child hears a noise, a young boy of 6 or 7. And he looks outside and he sees a wild pack of coyotes stealing the leftover venison and bison. And he grabs his stick with courage and chases after them, trying to secure the food for his village. And he follows them over rocks and hills, and he gets so close and he's screaming and angry and trying to get his food back. And all of a sudden, when he's so close, a very large coyote turns and chases him. The only thing he can do is find the closest tree and climb up it. And as he sits and ponders there in the night sky, he realizes that he did do his best. He tried to fix something, but he was too little. It wasn't possible. And the best thing to do was to save himself. It would seem obvious that the boy with the bison meat is clearly practicing the Serenity Prayer. We can apply this same thinking in our daily lives, for the little things and the big ones. We can't let something go if we are constantly trying to fix it or change it into something that it is not. The boy didn't try to change the coyote into an adorable kitten, nor did he try to fix the situation. He had the wisdom to know when to climb away from danger. So once we have serenity to accept something or someone as is, it is also important to remind oneself that blame or judgment does not aid us in moving on. Rule number 2, no matter how much you screwed up along the way, blame is not useful. This is a tricky one because you have to own your own actions. Really look at them critically from everyone else's perspective but your own. And then forgive them. You can then see why the action or non-action you chose caused your river to meander over a giant boulder or down a murky gully, or perhaps into a pristine eddy with wildly jumping fish. But blame is actually the same thing as judgment. And when judgment comes in, either of the self or other, a thread of pain makes it difficult to detach. If you can imagine that whatever mistake you have made, someone you love more than life itself has made the same mistake. And they come to you with a tremendous feeling of remorse and ask for forgiveness. Would you give it to them? Of course. Would you offer comfort and words of compassion? Of course. Well, it works for the same for yourself. You can be that other person. We have the ability to forgive ourselves just as we forgive others. It's a step towards acceptance. And because life truly is a bunch of accidents and mistakes and successes and failures that make up this course called Acceptance 101, no one gets graded on their homework. It's just practice. The real test is letting go of the judgment about the situation. Once you can get enough distance, perspective, and time, you can release the anchor of blame and stop scraping it along the bottom. Now on to the third and final fundamental rule of acceptance. No matter how well you master numbers 1 and 2, you still might not like the outcome of the situation. Let's take a car crash, for example. You lend your car to your really good friend who just needs it for a moment, or you give your car keys to your brand new teenage driver, and off they go. They're sitting at a stop sign, they're being a good driver, conscientious, and someone from behind accidentally smashes into them and ruins your car. Now, number 1, can't fix it. The accident happened. Number 2, there's no blame. Now, number 3 means you can actually not like the outcome, because of course it's going to interfere with your life. You have to get the car fixed. You don't have a car. You have to pay the deductible. But you've mastered 1 and 2. So what helps in the act of acceptance is to acknowledge the anger for a moment, or the discomfort for a moment of the outcome. But then, once again, you have a choice. I challenge you to look at your problems in life this way. We might not like the situation that we're in, but it's what it is for just right now. And we know that life changes, just as a river does. While I was in the county mental health facility, a couple months ago, which was an interesting adventure, I ended up writing a series of poems, ironically entitled Paradise, to help me understand what I was experiencing. Now, writing poetry, unlike Liesl, is very bizarre for me, experience of itself. But this is one that came out from day 5 of the whole. It's entitled Leap of Faith. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. When in lockdown, unlock the beauty and joy from within. There are no limits to what our simple gifts of life and light can do. To believe fully in oneself, one need take that big risk, that humongo leap of faith, from atop mountains and dunes to the oceans below. And while falling, sing and dance and laugh until there is no more sorrow, splashing joyfully into wherever you land. Falling into the well of life where even the whispers of sorrow and anger cannot be heard from above, but rather are turned into acceptance and wisdom with no pain. The gift of my pain is I am my own healing soulmate. I have been searching for these long 4 decades hence. End quote. So maybe like you, and like me, you have a busted head, or maybe you have a busted hip or a busted back, or maybe your bank account is a little busted. Or perhaps you're grieving the loss of a dear friend. And maybe right now you can't fix the situation, so you just do the best you can. Choosing the only thing you can choose to control, your attitude. Unlocking the beauty and joy from within. As our ancient ancestors honored the earth on this day for her bounty, they released the echoes of sorrow with dance and fire and music. Maybe something we can all do is to write down on those pieces of paper all of our hardships and disappointments from the long, dark winter months. Put them in the trash and burn them into the atmosphere of change. May we take the light from our universe and shine it down upon our sacred rivers of life, releasing everything, cutting away our judgmental anchors. With grace available to us, may we lay to rest the hardships of our past and take comfort by finding the beauty in this one special moment, this one special day, surrounded by friends and family. And as Rumi reminds us, rejoice, as there will be a clearing out for some new delight. May it be so.
And join hands so that we all are included in our circle. Our faith in this congregation is dedicated to the proposition that behind all our differences, beneath all our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together. In spite of time and space and in spite of time and the space between the stars, we pause in silent witness to that unity. May the blessings of love be upon you. May love's peace abide with you. May love's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. So be it. Amen. Blessed be. And now, as we extinguish the light of our communal chalice, our service truly begins.